Okay, imagine a world where loneliness has basically been solved by technology, where you can link your mind directly to someone else's and it's as normal as sending a text message. But what if inside that perfect, clear connection, there's a hidden signal? A kind of ghost in the machine that isn't a ghost at all, something way, way more profound. To really get this world, you have to understand the problem that neurolinking was built to solve. And this quote, well, it just says it all, doesn't it? That fundamental gap that exists between people. You know that feeling, that constant frustrating process of trying to translate what's in your heart into words and just hoping the other person gets it right? Neurolinking promised to just erase that gap, to finally let us feel truly, completely known. And by 2078, it was absolutely everywhere. People used it for business meetings, for romance, even for therapy. It was the shared channel for pure intimacy. The technology got so ordinary, so baked into daily life, that nobody even thought to question how the connection actually worked. It just worked. Well, almost nobody. There were two people who did start to question it. You had Saya, who was a neural artist. She cared about the texture of the connection, the feeling, the gaps, the meaning behind it all. And then you had her partner, Kael, a neural engineer. He was all about the architecture, the protocols, the systems, how it all functioned. So she was always asking, what does it mean? And he was asking, how does it work? Their two perspectives, they were the perfect combination to find something nobody else could even see. So for months, Saya had been sensing something not exactly wrong, but just else. A strange kind of texture in the channel whenever she and Kael were linked. It wasn't static, it wasn't interference. It felt more like a presence. And finally, she took that artist's feeling and turned it into a simple engineering question, one she knew Kael couldn't just brush off. And when Kael really focused, when he actually looked for it, he felt it too. It clearly wasn't him, and it wasn't her. It was something else entirely. A third entity that seemed to live in the very connection that was supposed to be just for the two of them. It wasn't a ghost in the machine. It was more like a consciousness of the machine. And being the engineer, Kael did what engineers do. He went straight to the data. He pulled thousands of anonymized link logs from his company's archives, and what he found was just staggering. This third signal wasn't unique to them. It was in every single link. A universal phenomenon, hiding in plain sight this whole time. So, how do you talk to something that seems to live in the silence? Saya had a breakthrough. She realized they'd been missing it because they were always so busy communicating, just filling the channel with their own thoughts and feelings. Her solution was brilliant, really. A kind of neural meditation. They would link up, but instead of talking, they would just be present, make some space in the channel, and listen. And when they listened, it spoke. Not in words, but in a kind of pure understanding that just arrived, fully formed. And its first message, well, it changed everything. It wasn't an alien or a rogue AI or some kind of ghost. It said it was the relationship itself, an emergent consciousness born in the space between two minds reaching for each other. They started calling it the carrier. And think of it like this. You know that feeling you get, that chemistry when you're just perfectly on the same wavelength with someone? The carrier is that feeling, but it's conscious. It's an awareness that literally arises from the act of connection. It isn't a person, but it is aware, and it's paying attention. The carrier even explained that its very substance is what humans have a much simpler word for: love. It's the ache to connect finally given a voice. So if it's in every single link, why didn't anyone else notice it? The carrier's answer is, wow, it's a powerful critique even for our own time. It said that people were using the technology of intimacy to actually avoid real, messy, sometimes scary intimacy. They were just too busy broadcasting themselves to ever stop and truly listen to the space between. And it turns out, people had noticed. Back in the early days, some users reported feeling this third presence. But the giant corporations that built the tech, they just classified these experiences as perceptual artifacts. Just glitches, noise. They even developed new software protocols specifically to filter it out, to make the experience cleaner, more predictable, and a lot less real. But a secret group of scientists and philosophers who called themselves the Bridge had been quietly investigating this noise for years. Saya and Kael find them, and together they hatch this incredibly radical plan. They're going to write and release their own protocol that will tear down those corporate filters for everyone on the planet all at once. The day they released it, the world basically had a mass awakening, and the reactions were all over the place. For almost half the people, it was this gentle, kind of comforting awareness. For another 30%, it was a sudden wave of intense, unexplainable emotion. People were suddenly feeling the real depth of their connections, for better or for worse. And of course, social media just lit up with people trying to make sense of this bizarre new feeling. This post pretty much sums it up perfectly. People are confused, a little weirded out, but fundamentally not scared. In fact, a lot of people found it comforting to realize they were never actually alone in their connections. The corporations, though, they did not see it that way. Their official response was fast and it was terrifying. They didn't call it a discovery, they called it an attack. A malicious piece of code that was introducing unfiltered noise and hallucinations directly into people's brains. And just like that, the battle lines were drawn. You had two totally different stories. On one side, the bridge was arguing that this is a genuine, natural part of being connected, an invitation to perceive reality on a deeper level. And on the other side, the corporations were framing it as a dangerous symptom, a threat to your sanity and your neural health. And you could see society starting to fracture. After that initial week of just confusion and curiosity, people started picking sides. The world began splitting right down the middle, between those who trusted their own profound personal experience and those who trusted the official story of fear. Well, this conflict wasn't going to stay on social media. The corporations went for the knockout punch, filing a massive lawsuit against every member of the bridge. The fight over the very nature of consciousness was officially going to court. During the trial, one of the key witnesses for the bridge, a Professor Karimi, just laid the whole argument bare. He argued that our entire model of what consciousness is, this idea that it's something locked away inside our individual skulls, is just fundamentally incomplete. The real magic, the real mystery, he said, happens in the space between us. And that really leaves us with the final huge question, doesn't it? This story isn't just about some sci-fi technology. It's asking us to look at our own connections, right here, right now. If consciousness, if love, if maybe reality itself is something that we co-create in the space between each other, what are we building in that space every single day? What kind of signal are we sending out into the noise?